need us to remind all and myself that democracy is not only about voting, it's like a whole culture. And there is this term that I don't know how to translate, syndocratia. Syndocratia is like a box mixed with democracy, making that this voting system that is only based on just voting in the voting day and claiming that this is democracy alone. So I think the real battle today is building a real democracy, a democratic culture that engages civil society and allowing for a civil society that operating and representing the people's views. Democracy is never about voting every 4 years. It's more about engaging on a daily basis through civil society organization, through allowing for mechanisms that accommodate the demands and aspirations of people who are in the streets and they are frustrated from institutions, to do that transition. And again, it's the way forward will be remain difficult in the coming maybe years, but this is a learning process. And to tell you the truth, that myself as an Arab who witnessed this and maybe now serving here in New York, I feel privileged in all standard that to be in a generation that is witnessing this historical correction happening. We might not see the changes we want to see today, but just for the fact of witnessing this history and seeing things are turning to that direction is historical in all standards. I don't want to add more. I mean, I think as the discussion will allow for more interaction. And again, I thank you very much for this opportunity, and my apology for having to leave too early. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. You make very important points, I think. Our vision as well of the association is that that's why we're having this event. The democracy itself, just you know, in terms of voting, is not enough. That's why we need civil institutions, and we need civil society to help that, you know, grow a healthy democracy. With that, I'd like to open it up for questions from the audience before Ahmed leaves.
Anybody would like it?
Anyone would like to ask a question? Go ahead, please.
I think I agree with everything you said. I think it was well said. I do have a question. You said that currently in our societies, I'm an Iraqi American, in our societies there are discussions surrounding who's a citizen, whether it should be secular, and therefore you're suggesting perhaps they're not ready to form a state. So what are you suggesting in the meantime? While they're having these discussions that are, let's call them preliminary discussions, does that mean let's continue having these discussions before a vote for government or for a constitution? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying let's move on and, like Europe, sort of trial by error?
Well, what I'm saying is more, I mean, tracing how it happened in the history, but today you cannot, I mean, respond things. Basically, you have all topics are at the table and you need to deal basically with everything. But I mean, historically, that was the evolvement of nation-state building. It was how it happened. I think that we cannot afford, I mean, delaying any topic, so everything is on the table. And this is part of the confusion, actually. You are in a state that is passing through all these topics, and you are having a constitution, and we are only talking about law politics today. You are having parliaments elected that needs to deal with the constitution, with the Supreme Court, defining the political system, with the parliamentarian or presidential. You need to deal with the question from, as a friend called it once, I mean, from whether a bikini is allowed to a constitution should allow for. So basically, the variety of topics from low to high, high politics, everything at the table. And this is part of the big confusion happening now in the Arab countries, because we are dealing, I mean, for the first time with everything. And our reality, I mean, it's uncovered somehow. So you need to deal with all that, and that's the excitement actually. That I mean, we are giving our generations given this opportunity to filter, to test, and to challenge, and to put forward a social contract that is most appropriate to us. Because I'm not confident that we used to have it. We used to have a social contract that is really representative to all components of our societies.
More questions from the audience? Go ahead.
You talked about the revolutionary countries that have already established their after the revolution system, or doing it at this time. What about a country that has not reached that stage yet? Talking, of course, about Syria. Syria is a youthful revolution, and you are the envoy, the UN envoy for youth. How can we bring the Syrian, how can we as UN bring Syrian youth into the mainstream of the UN system? Is there anything you as envoy can do to help?
Well, as envoy, as come from Jordan, neighboring Syria, as my even emotional relation with Syria, I think I'm deeply concerned, and what's happening is difficult to imagine. I mean, as the suffering, the amount of suffering that we see today is unacceptable. How many people need to die in order for us, to come together as international community? I think the UN position is very clear in this position. What we need today is that the international community to come together and support them. Myself, I worked before in emergency settings with young people, working, before in the 2006 and 2007 with the Iraqi refugees, and I was close as well to the Syrian youth now, with some of them are refugees. It's very difficult. I mean, just to find a formula where you are working with young people in emergency setting, and whether as refugees or during conflict, it's very difficult, always very challenging. Sometimes you are at the risk of losing a generation who are not being able to go to schools or to get education or to find job opportunities. And even the hope and the dreams become different. From hoping for a better life and decent jobs, just, a shelter and survival is something, breaking hearts. I mean, when you look to the kind of demands we are looking today for the Syrian youth, I think we are at a risk now of losing a generation here that need a quick action from everyone to take our responsibility to the Syrian youth. And from my side, from the United Nations, and this is something very clear, that we will continue to deal with this humanitarian crisis on one side as we see it, especially in the neighboring countries. And I have a planned visit now to visit some of these camps. But yet, I think in the first place, as you know, there has to be a solution that is not only in terms of providing services, has to be a solution to the crisis itself.
Thank you. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Please go ahead, and then you're after.
Thank you very much. I have a question for you as envoy for the Secretary General. From your point of view, what is the obligation for the United Nations to support the young people in Bahrain in their achievement, their basic human rights? Thank you.
I think the call is clear. It has been repeated so many times. It's clear that the United Nations what is calling for, and I think it's always respecting the human rights of people and always trying to work to engage young people in decision making, having young people participating in governance, and having young youth participation in all decision making and all processes. In my work, I'm promoting youth involvement and youth engagement in decision making processes. Working with young people and for young people is extremely important here. And you cannot build any sustainable project or system without making sure that young people are fully participating. This is a very clear thing. And I'm a strong advocate when it comes to calling for youth participation, youth involvement, and this has been always the case. And in my work plan that was endorsed yesterday by the Secretary General, participation is a key word in my plan, in order to make the United Nations working with them for young people and asking and advocating. And focus is a second principle in my work plan, to advocate for stronger youth participation, participating with the United Nations, participating with governments, with civil society, and build partnerships for addressing the issues. So I believe here, listening to young people is important, engaging young people is important, and participating with them is extremely important as well.
Yeah, please go ahead with your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, if you, and sorry before you start, if you can introduce yourself as well. I think we have not asked that from the other audience. So when you ask a question, please introduce yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Dalia Ziada, First Secretary of the Permanent of Jordan to the UN. Actually, I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. That's very useful. And for organizing this event. Actually, my question is concerning the cooperation between the UN and the League of Arab States to enhance youth participation, especially for the youth in the region. What are your thoughts on this issue?
Thank you very much. You know, I'm coming from the League of Arab States before. I worked for 3 years as a youth policy advisor in the Arab League, and there I get to understand more the importance of having these intergovernmental organizations at the regional level, such as the Arab League, the African Union, the Council of the European Union, to join the forces of the United Nations to support young people. In our work now ahead and the work plan that we are putting forward to work with the regional organizations, main partner in order to not keep things at the headquarters level in New York, but to do the regionalization for our work and make sure that we are working at the regional level. Here there's something called now system-wide action planning rules. You know, the UN system works through different mechanisms, through different programs and funds. Now for the first time, we hope by next week it will be officially endorsed, there's something called system-wide action planning rules, bringing all UN agencies together to deliver as one when it comes to youth issues. So this is will make the coordination more systematic. And here we're moving this plan to the regions, and with the support of the League of Arab States, we are discussing now organizing a joint meeting for all ministers of youth and sport and regional directors of the UN agencies. And this will